Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm starting a little vlog where I am reading from some TBR scratch-off tickets. So I've been trying to read from my shelves this year, and I purchased these tickets, and when I did the book journal, it was all the way back in December, so I don't remember what's under most of these. So I asked my daughter which one I should pick, and she said this peach one right here. So I'm going to scratch off the scratch off portion and then be able to see what book is lurking underneath. So it took me a minute to find this one on my shelves, but my first scratch-off ticket is Of Sunshine in Bedbugs by Isaac Babel. This book was gifted to me by Dia a little while ago, so it's nice to finally be reading this. This is a collection of short stories written by Babel, who was a Jew living in Russia and was killed by Stalin. So it has quite a few short stories here, and I'm just going to kind of flip through the pages a little bit so that way you can kind of see some of the information before I dive in. I did decide, since I'm doing a short story collection, I can read a short story here or there, and it's not as concentrated as it would be if I was reading a full-length novel. So I decided, after scratching this one off, that I could certainly do another book. So I decided to scratch off one more TBR ticket. This time I went with the organized thought of doing the very first one. So the winner for this one is City of Thieves by David Benioff. This book also takes place in Russia, so it's really funny that I somehow ended up with two Russian books. This takes place with some boys that are trying to find some eggs in Leningrad, I think, is kind of the premise of this one. But here's the back so you can look at it a little bit. I've actually had this on my shelves for at least 4 years, and I picked it up for free at a library in Virginia when I was visiting a friend. So I'm really, really happy that this is one of the books that I will be starting and finally getting to. For a little update. So at the point of me filming, I am not quite halfway. I guess I'm close to halfway through Of Sunshine and Bedbugs by Isaac Babel. And I kind of have a little bit of mixed feelings on this. Not in that I have any negative feelings towards it, but the short stories, I believe, are semi-autobiographical, and they're following him, through his childhood. The first section really is childhood, and it might even be called that. It's called Childhood and Youth. And I've just started part 2, which is Gangsters and Other Old Odessans. And then the final one is Red Cavalry. So there were some really interesting and fun things in the Childhood and Youth one. The first story kind of reminded me of Flannery O'Connor, and that you're like, childhood. And then you get hit with like this gut punch at the end that's kind of like shocking and a little gruesome. And you're like, what just happened? And so it kind of reminded me of that, but none of the subsequent stories have. So I think that we have snatches of really, really lovely writing in here. I'm going to see if I can share a quote with you. Somewhere far away, disaster galloped along this very earth on a big horse, but the sound of its hooves was growing weaker, vanishing. And calmness, that bitter calmness that sometimes comes over children during calamities, suddenly obliterated the boundary between my body and the unmoving earth. The earth smelt of damp inner depths, of the grave, of flowers. I sensed its smell and wept without fear. So there's like some really, really beautiful lines in here that I really enjoyed. I really liked the first story, and then there was another story from his childhood called In the Basement. And that story was really funny because he's kind of this kid who's more intellectual and reads a lot. And so he's extremely imaginative, much more than his classmates, even his really intelligent classmates that are very studious. He's just very, very imaginative. And so as a result, he's one of those kids that tells a lot of tall tales, especially as he's pretty poor and there are some wealthier kids in his class, and he wants to find some way to impress them and kind of be on their level. And so In the Basement is a situation where he becomes kind of friends with a rich kid, and then the rich kid comes over his house and he feels like he needs to live up to and have where he lives live up to these stories that he's told. And it backfires in a really funny way. The rest of the childhood stories I didn't enjoy as much, but I did enjoy The King, which is the first story in Gangsters and Other Old Odessans. And apparently The King is basically like a mob boss, and the way that he operates is very humorous in this story, even though he does things that are reprehensible. It's like you can picture this, even though this is in Russia, it reminds me of like old style, like New York gangsters that you might see movies of, like the way that he talks and behaves. There, I imagine this swagger to him that just was really entertaining. And so I really, really enjoyed that story. I'm wondering if the rest of those stories are kind of going to continue on that trajectory in this section, because we're more focused on the gangsters and the corruption in Odessa during this particular story. But I've found all the other stories to be extremely forgettable, and so it's like there's been a few shining jewels that I've really enjoyed, but the rest of them, they're fine, and they have snatches of lovely writing, but they're not super memorable. And I guess that's the case with a lot of collections of short stories. So we'll see how I feel as we continue, as we're kind of moving out of childhood. He's in his adolescence now in this. I think he's probably more like 14, 15, and he was younger in the rest of the stories. So we'll see. I also am, I think, like 40 pages into City of Thieves. According to Storygraph, that's like 15%. And I have unfortunately decided to DNF this one. I am really bummed out about that because I feel like this has really, really gripping writing. So here's like the first paragraph of chapter 1. You've never been so hungry. You've never been so cold. When we slept, if we slept, we dreamed of the feasts we had carelessly eaten 7 months earlier. All that buttered bread, the potato dumplings, the sausages, eaten with disregard, swallowing without tasting, leaving great crumbs on our plates, scraps of fat. In June of 1941, before the Germans came, we thought we were poor. But June seemed like paradise by winter. And so I love the writing style, the way that it's written. And the prologue of this is like basically this old man who is telling the story of his childhood in Leningrad to his grandson, and his grandson's writing it down, and that's the rest of the book. However, while I really like the setting and I like how this is kind of operating, you have these two boys who don't know each other, who end up getting thrown into jail on the same night for different things. One's a deserter, and the other one was caught looting a German soldier who actually parachuted down but was already dead, and so he got caught looting his body. And normally with any kind of offense, they would immediately execute because they can't afford to keep people in prison and pay them, and or not pay them, feed them, and all those kinds of things. So normally they would just be put to death. But the person who's in the city has a task for them in that his daughter's getting married, and he's determined to have a wedding cake for her despite the war. So he wants them to find 12 eggs, and they're starving. No one's seen an egg in a long time. So the rest of the book, I'm assuming, is going to be them going on this journey to find these eggs. So I like the premise. I like the setting. I like the writing. So why am I DNFing? Because we are very in the head of teenage boys who are having very sexual thoughts and urges all the time. And I have talked to some people and told them that this was one of the books for my scratch off. And one of them said, oh, I DNF'd that book. And the other one's like, I finished it because it was a buddy read, but I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. And so they warned me that there was going to be sexual content in this book. And I'm like, well, I'll just try to skip. And one of them's like, I don't know if you can skip. It's pretty pervasive. And it's actually like really jarring and kind of like gross. I'm just like, oh, like nothing's actually happened. It's just the thoughts of this teenage boy that I'm just like, I don't want to know that you're thinking about this. I don't want to know. I had like 2 or 3 situations of that just within the first 3 chapters, which I read, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I've been assured it doesn't get better. It only gets worse. And so this is not a book for me. So I might end up choosing another scratch off card. I do have some other books that I need to read this month for book clubs and stuff that I haven't even started yet. So I haven't fully decided, but I think maybe I will scratch off one more since I'm ditching this one so early in the month. It's only the 9th of May when I'm filming this. So I have lots of other time. So I might go ahead and scratch off another book, but I wanted to come on and let you know I'm not counting this as a failure that I'm DNFing this and getting off my shelves, because my goal of the scratch off was to read books on my shelves, to just kind of like books that have been sitting there for a long time. And this book has been sitting on my shelf for almost 4 years, and I'm able to get it off my shelves and make room for other books. So to me, that is not a failure. It's actually a good thing. I'm still continuing to read things on my shelves and decide whether or not I want to keep them on my shelves. So anyways, I will definitely pop on and share some more of Sunshine and Bedbugs the further I get on into that. And maybe I'll pick another scratch off card too. Hi friends, it's time for me to wrap up this vlog. My intention was to potentially scratch off another one of my TBR cards, but I didn't do that because I have several books for book clubs, for my Patreon book club and my in-person book club and something else. Oh yeah, a vlog I'm doing for my Patreon, and I haven't finished any of those books. So I decided that I'm not gonna scratch off another card this month, and that maybe I will just continue this vlog at another time, like make this a series of vlogs. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. But I wanted to come on and share my final thoughts of Sunshine and Bedbugs by Isaac Babel. I did finish this collection, and it was a bit of a struggle for me, honestly. Like, I am glad that I read it, and there were some really, really brilliant short stories in here that I really enjoyed. I think I previously mentioned that they're split into 3 parts. So the first part is more of his childhood, the second part is following gangsters in Odessa, and then the third one is his time in the military. But what's odd about these stories is that some of them appear to be written from his perspective, and like he's kind of the narrator, but some of them have different narrators, and it's sometimes hard to know where you are with these. It doesn't always feel cohesive. I thought that these were going to be like individual separate short stories, but some of them build on each other and are kind of a continued thought. And it's almost like they could have just been chapters within the story, particularly like the gang members in Odessa. Like there's someone else that our narrator's talking to who's telling him the backstory of all these gangsters. And each one of the backstories is a separate short story, but I would forget that it was that person narrating this and not Isaac Babel and his story. He did a good job in making those stories feel like they're from the perspective of someone different than him. Like the voice sounds different. But there were times where there would be characters who would be repeated, and then there'd be times where we're dropped into something and there was a whole bunch of characters that, according to the footnotes, were supposed to represent real historical figures. And I didn't know anything about those real historical figures. I didn't understand like the context of a lot of the characters and stories, especially in the final section where they were talking about the war and being a soldier and those kinds of things. There'd be like, oh, this person here is supposed to represent this person. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is. And so I think that if I knew more about Babel's life, and if I knew more about the geographical area and key players where he was, I think I would understand some more. Because I do know some things about, you know, Russia during World War II and under Stalin and the Russian Revolution. I don't know a ton about those things, but I do have some base of knowledge coming into that. But there are a lot of things in this story that takes place specifically in Ukraine, which isn't something I've looked into quite as much during this time period. And so I think that that contributed to my overall kind of feeling of disorientation. That was like, as I'm walking away from this collection of short stories, that is the word I'm finding myself using to describe it, is disorienting. However, some of it's really beautifully written, and there's a couple short stories that I just really absolutely loved. So I really liked the first short story, The Story of My Dovecote. I loved In My Basement. I really enjoyed that one. There's some of these that illustrate just so how funny Isaac Babel is, and that's one of them, as well as The King, which I think I talked about in my last update, probably about the gangsters and other old Odessans. Like, I loved the story of this gangster boss, and some of the subsequent short stories have stories of kind of like his rise to fame, and that's kind of fun as well. And then in the Red Calvary section, I loved Gedali, which is like the story of a rabbi kind of talking about war and the effects of war. And so there were some of these that I really loved, and some of them that felt either out of place or I just felt confused. But overall, I think that this is a short story collection I'd like to revisit at some point when I've done just a little bit more research into where he's coming from. I did find out where the title of this came from because it's in one of the stories, and now I wish I had marked which short story it was that it comes from, but they open a bottle of wine and they say that the bottle of wine smells of sunshine and bedbugs. And I'm like, huh, that's kind of a gross image. Which kind of fits in with these stories where there will be moments where something's funny or beautifully written, and then you get kind of punched with something extremely like brutal, which kind of reminds me of Flannery O'Connor in like the wittiness and the brutality that happens that you're not expecting, and it has like a sense of dark humor about some of the stories anyway. I found less humor in that final section than the first two, but in general, I think war is less funny than some of the other things happening here. Anyways, that's my kind of like accidental World War II Russian vlog with scratching off my TBR cards. I think it's hilarious that the two books that ended up on here were both books that were set in similar time periods and both very Russian. So I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you've read any of these books, you can let me know. And if you'd like to see me do another continuation of a vlog, I would be happy to do that because I still have so many TBR cards to scratch off. So I'm hoping to get to some more of them this summer. If you'd like to see me talk about that, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me. And I will see you again next time.